welcome this morning to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'm Reverend Johnalou Johnstone, your former program minister for 13 years. I was not expecting that. And as of this past Tuesday, on contract through May as your minister for pastoral care and worship. Oh, we get it twice, all right. Those of you who know me know I use she, her pronouns, and that I have family ties to Oklahoma. And I have to say, in recognition of Coming Out Day later this week, have been in a committed lesbian relationship with my partner Jane Power for 4 decades now. That's more than a minute. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who's watching us on YouTube this morning. Please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining from. If you're in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood, or if you're elsewhere, what city. Another special greeting to those of you who have a Jewish background. In these days of awe, in between the holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I wish that your name be written in the book of life. It is a particularly difficult time for those of Jewish heritage as war rages and anti-Semitism increases, and I pray for true peace for Palestine and Israel. In the biblical imagery, for the lion to lie down with the lamb without rancor, and for all to be respected in their backgrounds and identities. Today, I am very pleased to be joined by the Reverend Angeline Jackson. She is an international expert in LGBTQ plus education, a Lambda Literary finalist, and the Caribbean Board Representative for the Global Interfaith Network for People of All Sexes, Sexual Orientations, Gender Identities, and Expressions. In 2018, she began providing expert witness services for LGBTQ asylum seekers and started her ministry, Sustenance, with 2 U's, S-U-U-S. Sustenance.lgbt, to support her broader ministry specific to the LGBTQ plus community. And in 2023, she authored Funny Gia, My Fight Against Homophobia in Jamaica. She is the called minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis, California. So welcome, Reverend Angeline, to First Unitarian Church. And finally, before we get going, Reverend Angeline is here because of a very special occasion this afternoon. Our own Alyssa Lee, who I knew oh so many years ago, and many of you still know and love, will be ordained by this church at 3 p.m. this afternoon. This church has a long history of producing ministers from its midst, sending them forth to go and do good in the wider world, and Alyssa is the next in the line of honor. And I hope you will honor her and our history with your presence this afternoon. And now, the prelude, which is actually a prelude. Prelude indeed. Now the prelude prepares us for worship. And it is the time for the lighting of the chalice. We light our chalice in Midtown Oklahoma City on land that was home to first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated people. And I offer words from Sarah Ruth Wikoye Davis. We light this chalice with an open heart. We light this chalice with resolve. We light this chalice with tears on our cheeks. We light this chalice in hope, a tiny flame we nurture. We light this chalice with reverence for this place, for these people, for this time. We light this chalice with all our souls longing to be who we are, to be who we will become, to be ourselves. We light this chalice in self-love, in giving love, in holy love.
Our call to worship this morning comes from words written by Reverend Kimberly Tomzet Carlson, and it's called Our Roots of Resilience. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots. Roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength. Gently sway in the wind, turning your body like a trunk of a tree. Leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls. What surrounds you may sway you, make you bend and feel unbalanced. Wiggle your toes. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. A tree is nourished by the soil and water. You are nourished by food the earth grows and the water it provides. You are cared for and loved by many people. Breathe deeply. Still yourself. Know that your roots are strong. Wiggle your roots.
I'm pleased to welcome you, of course, but the church, as you know, is so much more than its ministers or staff. The core of the church rests in community. So I invite you to take the next couple of minutes to greet your neighbors around you, preferably someone you didn't come here with. And if you're joining us online, get a conversation going in the chat. If you're here in person, please respect people's boundaries, however they are expressed, including through masking. And when you hear the piano begin to play, please gather back together to sing our opening hymn, number 127.
Can I see another's woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? Can I see a falling tear and not feel my sorrow share? Can a father see his child weep nor be with sorrow filled? Can a mother sit and hear infants groan and infant feel? No, no, never can it be. Never, never can it be.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. And since 2002, all cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in the world, our Change for Change partners. Our Change for Change recipient for the month of October is Calm Waters. The Calm Waters mission is to help children and their families in their grief journey caused by death, divorce, or other significant loss. The Calm Waters vision is to be the leading provider of grief support services for children and families throughout central Oklahoma, serving as a safe place for those who have experienced a loss to receive grief resources, peer support, and hope for the future. Calm Waters is the expert on grief and trauma as it relates to loss, using research-based curriculum and programming. So they have a great need for monetary contributions. But while we're talking about money and needs, our hearts continue to go out to the people in the southeastern part of the U.S. who are suffering through the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And as you consider your giving to support them, please keep in mind the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. This church has drawn on it in the past, and it's a great resource for UUs caught up in rebuilding efforts. And you can contribute at www.uua.org/giving/disasters relief, and that's in your order of service. And it occurs to me that we have our person here, Alyssa, who is coming here to us from North Carolina. And so I'm sure that she knows some of the import of that work and the good that those contributions could do. So with that, our regular offering for Calm Waters will be given and received. For those of you in the sanctuary with us, we'll be passing the offering plate. And if you're watching online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian with Change for Change on the memo line, or make an online payment through the website, oneuc.org. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wendy. I am a white female whose pronouns are she, her, hers. I have somewhat in the 40s. I have wavy blonde hair. I'm wearing a purple dress today, and I am a member of our Radically Welcoming team. I'm also a member of the choir, and I sometimes play this shiny little thing called the flute. I'm here today to read the reading. To Love to Be honors National Coming Out Day, celebrated on October 11th, encouraging folks in the 2S LGBTQIA+ community to share their authentic selves, while recognizing that coming out isn't safe for everyone, especially in the great state of Oklahoma. To Love to Be. Come closer, friend, with open heart. No need to hide the truest part. Your love, your light, your gentle way deserves the dawn of every day. For love is love, no boundaries stand, no walls to bar, no desert land. In every touch and every glance is found the hope of one more chance. To be yourself without a fear, to speak your truth so clear, so near. The world may whisper, shout, or stare, but know that here you're free to care. The colors of your love are bright, a rainbow bending through the night, and in its arc we all belong. No love is right, no love is wrong. So take your hand, hold it high. There's room for all beneath this sky. For in your truth we find our own, and every heart love's seeds are grown. Sown, grown, it's pretty similar. We stand with you, we walk beside. In love we lift, we do not hide. For every soul deserves to see the gift of love, the right to be. Thank you.
I think that's what I came to church for today. Take a breath with me. In the hurry and worry that surrounds us and sometimes threatens to throw us off balance, take a breath with me. Notice what's in your body. Notice what's in your heart. Take a breath with me. Whatever we find in our bodies or hearts, grief or joy, quiet or chaos, love, despair, curiosity, wonder, fear, illness or well-being, whatever we find, may we all find a way to take it in, to be with it, to acknowledge the reality, and to be together, open and grateful in this space. As we pause in this moment, may we keep in mind those in pain and struggle, those who are affected by physical and mental health issues, those affected by Helene, those affected by war in Gaza and Lebanon and Sudan and Ukraine. All those siblings we have around the world who may be threatened by oppression of every kind, we keep them in our minds and hearts and extend love out to them. Whatever this day may bring, may we find a way to take it in, to accept it, the gifts and challenges alike. May we open our hearts and minds to the words offered today here in generosity and care. Amen and blessed be.
I'm going to share a reading with you that was written by Elandra Williams, and it's called Pushing Forward. If we believe in the promise of our faith, we must continue pushing forward, even if the reality makes us want to give up. There is no one-size-fits-all solution or model, but there are many paths forward based on context, relationships, and place. Ideology sparks movements, but relationships are what change organizations and sustain those movements. It takes one relationship at a time. In the end, changes to the leadership of the institution happen because of relationships, people pushing. We must place value on the relationships and the need to not leave folks behind in our quest for transformation. She writes, Elandra writes, I live in a small city, and living in that small city helps me understand what community means. Community doesn't only include the people who agree with you or those with whom you want to be friends. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is similar in the sense that we are a small religious community of people who are not bound by creed, but instead are bound by principles, values, and a covenant, with a need for intellectual rigor combined with spiritual depth or humanist love. Everything comes back to our congregations and covenanted communities. That is where the faith starts and ends. We must embody the changes we wish to see, and not just say that we believe in the changes. We must actually live the changes with every fabric of our being, if we believe in the promise of our faith. We must continue pushing forward. Those words by Elandra. I realized I've not really done a reading into sermon, so I transition spot. Good morning, friends. It is lovely to be here with you today. Before I came to the United States, and really before I began my seminary education, I, like many others observing this country from the outside, only had the myth of the United States to go by. To be fair, it was not a myth. But oftentimes, the things we believe about ourselves and the way we portray ourselves to the world don't actually align with what we do. One of the most well-known images of the United States is its position as a leadership voice on the global stage, right? I do the sermon where I talk to you, and I really appreciate you talking back. I don't have a problem, okay? All right? I'm not saying that the voice, that leadership voice, was one that everyone agreed with. Instead, it was a voice you couldn't help but hear, and it was influential, and it still is. There have been many times in US history when the ideas, values, and principles of the White House leadership have been at odds with the ideas and values of the everyday person. Out of these spaces of disagreement arose protest and anti-war songs that have transcended generations. Imagine by John Lennon, War by Bob Marley and the Wailers, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, Zombies by the Cranberries, just to name a few. From this disagreement, we also got student protest movements that often reflected the deeply held sentiment of the wider society, exemplified by the 1935 Student Strikeout for Peace and opposition to South African apartheid in 1980s. Today, we find ourselves again in the position of the US having a leadership voice on the global stage. Not that they ever left it. We have also a new wave of songs and student protests. In her book, Joy Unspeakable, Barbara Holmes addresses the difference between the activism of the generations. Now, though she specifically addresses the difference between the civil rights movement and the Black Lives Matter activists, those differences can be seen in other areas of movement and activism. She highlights that civil rights movement activists, by necessity, engaged in respectability politics and sang of hope and comfort with songs like Balm in Gilead and We Shall Overcome. What does the song say? Someday. But that the activists of today are bringing life to a halt, blocking bridges, saying we ain't gonna stop till our people are free, and rising songs of assurance like Kendrick Lamar's reminder that we gonna be all right. Did you know that Jamaica was the first country to declare a trade embargo against the South African apartheid government? We lick about with Talawa is a phrase that we love to use. We did this in 1957, when we were still a British colony. It took bravery for that small island. Literally, you look at the map, Jamaica is a dot. It took bravery for that small island to make such a bold statement. It took deep conviction in a set of values. Anybody, young or old, wealthy or financially struggling, powerful or not, can be a leader. In this democratic nation, no one tells you what you can or cannot think or do. That's what I've heard. And part of what drew you to this faith and keeps you here is that democratic element that allows you to live your values and stay rooted in your convictions. Leadership, and ultimately being a leader, is our willingness to be a voice on an issue, even if it is unpopular, and even if we're the only ones speaking. It is the ability to know your values, principles, and convictions, and to be willing to be firmly rooted in them. For as long as we've been around, Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists have been leaders on a range of issues. Being leaders meant our spiritual ancestors were often labeled heretics, cast out from the communion of wider churches, and even surveilled by entities such as the FBI. Do you know we had surveillance in some of our churches? Despite all these threats, we remained firm in our convictions. So when we consider the history of our faith, the student movements of the past, and the significant student movement of today, I noticed at least 3 themes that could be valuable learning points for us. I'll share those with you. You can talk to me afterwards if you don't agree with them. That's fine. The first learning I noticed is putting action to our values. It is easy to stay in our comfort zones and criticize or support a movement. We can easily slip into practices of veranda politics. Though I kind of get the feeling that isn't true about this congregation. We might be vocal, but here's the thing, we might be vocal and active about one issue in a part of our life over there to the left. but be silent about some other just as important issue in another part of our life over there to the right. We cannot, or rather we should not, trick ourselves into partitioned lives with a little bit of something here and a little bit of something there, because almost every issue intersects with another issue. We must consistently say what we mean and mean what we say, even on things that aren't our focus issues. Otherwise, we run the risk of people wondering about our character and our values. As an LGBTQ+ activist in Jamaica, I went to many meetings and protests and wrote to national paper publications about LGBTQ issues, but also about other intersecting issues. But I didn't do all of them every time, and I am not suggesting or asking that you do the same or do, everything. There are only so many hours in the day and so many things we can do. But it means that we consistently try to find ways to support the things we care about, whether through our words, actions, resources, or something else. The second learning is doing what we believe is right all the time, not only when it is convenient. It is hard. Sometimes, maybe even often, the right thing to say or do isn't convenient. The timing isn't appropriate. Saying or doing the thing would jeopardize or cost you another thing. Or doing what is right may get you kicked out of some circles. We each have a choice to make about how we live our values and what we're willing to lose or give up to align with those values. For people like Malcolm X and Dr. King, it was knowing that each statement increased the likelihood that they would have been assassinated. For the people who marched in Selma, it was knowing that they might have been imprisoned, lost jobs, or lynched. For today's student protesters, it is the awareness that their degrees might be withheld. For non-tenured professors, it is knowing they may be dismissed. What is your conviction worth? Do you feel as though you're being eaten up on the inside if you turn an eye to what you believe is right? I know that there are non-tenured professors right now watching from a safe distance, because while they may want to do what they feel is right, whether that is to join the protest in support of Gaza or in support of Israel, the fallout from their action may be too much. This is not a criticism. As an immigrant, I understand the precarious situation of measured advocacy. Yet, every action we take has consequences. I'm not advocating for anyone to do something that will cause a consequence so big that you are unable to live with it. Instead, each of us must consider our values and convictions. And when we make our decisions, we must know why and be comfortable with those choices and whatever fallout comes with that. The third thing I noticed was the need to recognize our interconnectedness and interdependence. Across all the divisions designed to alienate us from each other, one phrase rings out and beckons us to connection. None of us are free until all of us are free. as you use, this sentiment is expressed as interdependence in the revised Article 2. It's very easy to look at our issues and feel that no one else understands. And while it may be true that no one else is experiencing exactly what you are experiencing, when we tap into empathy, compassion, and concern, we may begin to notice the threads that connect us to each other. In so doing, we begin to recognize that if my neighbor is hungry, unhoused, lacking security, then I too am impacted. And when we acknowledge that, we may be moved to action. When we listen to the reflections and documentaries about the student movements across the generations, I am struck by the existence of a deep spirituality. And I'm sure not everyone considered the spiritual context of their actions. And many, including faith organizations, did not necessarily see their actions as spiritual. In fact, Barbara Holmes in the book reminded us that Dr. King didn't have the support of the Black church when the civil rights movement first began. I was surprised to learn that. But spirituality is more than what we do in church, how often we come, although you should come regularly, whether we clap or not, dance, or sit quietly. It is more than words that are explicitly designed for worship. Spirituality for me is a recognition of our potential to be at one with all people and all beings, and to live our lives in such a way that supports growth for others. We achieve this soul work through multiple avenues: being in fellowship with spiritual or faith communities, giving of our resources to causes we believe in, or participating in movements that bring our world closer to a just world for all. The youth and those who support them today, both those advocating for Palestinians and those opposed to anti-Semitism, challenge us to be leaders, willing to put our values into action, rejecting convenience for rightness, recognizing our collective bondage and our collective liberation, or collective bondage and collective liberation, and to do all this work as the outpouring of our soul's yearning, where spirituality takes place in beautiful sanctuaries like this one, and on the receiving end of fire hoses and pepper spray. Amen.
For our closing hymn, we're going to be singing hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine. And we're going to clap and dance to this.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine,
I got caught up in things. We extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of love and community which burns in our hearts. Now the benediction.
The words for a benediction come from the piece A World Attained, written by Barrow Dunham, or better words than I could find. And now, since the struggle deepens, since evil abides and good does not yet prosper, let us gather what strength we have, what confidence and valor that our small victories may end in triumph, and the world awaited be a world attained. Amen.